Hi, how are you? I'm the Phantom of the Ore. This is my Building Real Houses in Minecraft series where I take pictures off Google and I build them in Minecraft, and today we're building this house. Isn't that right, Mr. Golem? So, a few of these videos ago, I accidentally built the full house without realizing it, and it gave me this idea. What if around every 4 houses that I build, I take a break from just building a generic house that I found pretty, and I actually build a famous house, or a house from a movie, which then gave me the idea to build the house from the movie Up. Now, I say this about a lot of the houses that I built in this series, but this was, no joke, the hardest house for me to build, because there were so many different colors and a weird mixture of textures and stuff, and the shape itself is kind of complicated. So it was definitely a fun challenge, but I'm pretty surprised at how well it turned out at the end. Anyway, it took me a while to experiment with what kinds of textures I wanted to use, but I decided to go with concrete because it would provide me with a consistent texture all throughout and all the colors that I needed. So as someone once told me in a previous video, and I've said this before too, you're supposed to start with the smallest part of the house, or the smallest part of the design in general, in order to get the proportions of things right. But I didn't do that with this house because the shape was just so weird that I really felt like I had to start in the green section, the part that juts out, just because I didn't feel confident starting in any other area. Now, this creates some problems later on because I did have issues with the proportions, but I'm still not sure I would have built it any other way. The pink around the windows was kind of hard to replicate, so I decided to go with crimson wood. And on the bottom of the walls, where you see, I guess it's where the crawl space of the house would be, there's that little wooden design. I decided to use stripped birch wood, and I gave it a little bit of a pattern by making the logs face in different directions. It's kind of hard to explain, but I tried to not make it look uniform. And it was at that point that I decided that I was going to use birch wood for the decorative parts of the house, because the rest of the colors are really dark and really in your face. So birch is bland enough that it doesn't add to the eye vomit. I also decided to go with yellow glass panes for the windows because we don't have yellow curtains, but this helps to give you the same feeling. I wanted the house to look like it had siding, so I decided to also go in and add wool to the walls, of course in the matching color, but it just varies the texture to make it look like the house has siding. And it is one of those old style Victorian looking houses, so the siding part is important in my opinion. I made the windows 2 blocks deep so that I can give them a little slab in the middle with the crimson. If you watch my other videos, you'll know that I often make my windows 2 blocks deep in order to add decorations like that. I made the roof out of brown concrete and the trim of the roof with blue wool. Previously, I did not like using wool in building projects because to this day it still feels wrong to me to use wool. But I'm starting to find that there really just aren't a lot of options that look good. There's a garden hose at the front of the house that I was trying to replicate here. At first I tried to make it diagonal, just like in the picture, but I decided that in this case it would actually look better not diagonal. And I used oxidized copper to try and recreate the look of the hose. This part here was very difficult, and it's the part I struggled with the most. I thought that the green part of the house ended up looking too wide, so I decided to bring in the sides a little bit more and narrow everything. Also, I decided to move everything up a block because the porch had to be a certain height, and it was interfering with the bottom of the window that is facing it. So yeah, I had to go in and move all this up 1 more block. Oh, and I didn't talk about how I used end stone for the top part of the house. There really wasn't anything green colored that replicated the texture of shingles for that section of the house, so I didn't really want to use anything that was the quote-unquote right color. I figured end stone was close enough that it wouldn't clash too much, and it gave it a similar texture, so that's why I decided to use that. Again, I had to introduce some more bland colors because I didn't want this to turn into like an eyesore with all of the different colors. I also wanted to make sure that this part of the roof was steep enough. I think since I'm a novice builder, I struggle with going for very defined, dramatic roofs. And it's true that making roofs is my weakest point. So this is a good way to practice and force myself to really just go for it. I decided to make the stairs for the porch out of trapdoors because I thought it more closely matched the picture than regular Minecraft stairs. And it also gave me a pretty cool idea that I can now use in my other builds, because I never would have thought to do that before. And unlike my other houses, I'm not going to be adding a texture to the roof because this house is already going to have way too many colors and textures. So having some solid blocks in this build will give the eye a nice place to rest every now and then. And then I had the opposite problem here with this roof. I actually made it too steep in the beginning. I had to make it less steep because I forgot that there's a back half of the house that it has to go over. Finding pictures for all of the sides of this house was pretty difficult, but if you look up the house from up, you'll find a lot of different concept arts for it and other Minecraft builds. And I mean, people have recreated this house before in various mediums. So I kind of just picked and chose off Google the different angles and tried to get it as accurate as possible. There are some different ways to interpret the house, so I just went with what felt true to me. Looking at that yellow side of the house, I realized I didn't make the windows pop out, like with the rest of the windows. Whoops. Right now, it'd probably be a good time to mention that if this video gets 10 likes, I will build the inside of this house, as well as the yard, and I'll go in and clean up the details that I missed, because this is just a very basic speed build, so there will probably be details that I missed. A lot of times when I build these houses, I'll look back on it as I'm editing the video and be like, aw, dang, I missed such an obvious thing, and it'll bother me. So actually, please give it 10 likes so that I'll be motivated to go back and fix it. By the way, I saw that some of the other videos are actually not that far off from getting 10 likes, so I might actually get to revisit some of these houses soon. My channel's pretty tiny, so that's why it's taking a while, but that's okay. It gives me more time to procrastinate. forgot to put the blue wool trim on that one piece of roof too. I think I built this house when I was sleep deprived. Actually, now that I think about it, pretty much everything I do on this channel I do sleep deprived. This part of the roof was really tough because I wasn't sure how to make all these points join together. I'm sure the biggest reason for why roofs are so hard for me is because I'm missing some kind of principle that should guide me in the process. But eventually I figured it out and I was like, oh, maybe I should just shift this part of the roof over a little bit to match. And I did what any good contractor does when they make a mistake and just built right over the problem area to cover it up and hope nobody notices. I used 2 lightning rods to help recreate I guess they're antennas or exhaust pipes. There's something on the roof there. So I put lightning rods there. And then the chimney was fairly easy to do. I didn't even add texture to it because this house already has so much going on. And then I just added trapdoors as little decorative touches on all the windows and parts of the wood. And that's it. That's the house from up. I hope you like my version of it. I had a really fun time making it despite the fact that it was really ridiculously hard. This one took a lot of hours. And it's a surprisingly big house. But yeah, there's a few little details I have to go back in and fix later. But I'll do that later if I ever get to revisit this one. Let me know if you liked it, if you'd make any changes to it yourself, suggestions on how to improve it. Don't forget to follow me on my socials, especially if you want to send me stuff that you want me to make. And I'll see you next time.